Good afternoon to all the NEET aspirants. This is your Prasanna Ma'am from NEET World. So yes, in our yesterday's session, we have dealt clearly with all the previous year questions from sexual reproduction of flowering plants. Based on the clear analysis of all the previous year questions, we have come to a conclusion that most of the questionnaire patterns from this chapter are like multi-statement based questions, assertion reason questions are most, and diagram based questions as well. So based on that analysis, we have listed out the top questionnaire targeting your NEET 2026, which is highly useful for each and every student who are attempting NEET 2026. So yes, let's get started with the first question, which is a diagram based question of your male reproductive structure, that is anther. So here if you look into, recognize the figure and find out the correct matching. Correct matching need to be identified. So here if you see, this is the long stalk of the male reproductive structure, that is stamen. This long stalk is called as what, filament. B is filament. Filament whose proximal end is connected to the thalamus and distal end is connected to the anther. Okay, distal end is connected to anther and proximal end to the thalamus. This A is what? Anther, dithecous anther. Okay, A is dithecous anther. Fine. So this dithecous anther, after transverse section, when you observe, it has 4 wall layers, of which the outer 3 include epidermis, endothecium, middle layers, and the inner layer is what? Tapetum. Inside which you have what, pollen sacs. So see, here is what? Pollen sacs. And D here inside the pollen sacs. Inside the pollen sacs at the time of dehiscence or dispersal, what will be formed? D is what? Pollen grains. Pollen grains. Okay, and E is the line of dehiscence. E is line of dehiscence. Fine. So now you look into the right option. A is anther, B is filament, C is pollen sacs, D will be what? Pollen grains, and E is the line of dehiscence. Option A will be the right answer. Right, Vita? Next question you see, assertion reason type of question. So in assertion, a typical microsporangium of angiosperms is generally surrounded by 4 wall layers. What are they? Epidermis, endothecium, middle layers, and tapetum. Okay. So this outer 3 layers, in reason it is explained like the outer 3 wall layers perform the function of protection and help in the dehiscence of anther to release the pollen grains. Okay. So this outer 3 layers will help in the dehiscence of pollen grains, whereas the innermost layer, that is tapetum, is nutritive in function. This will provide the nutrients or nutrition to the sporogenous tissue which is inside. Okay, it will provide the nutrition to the sporogenous tissue and it will aid or help in the maturation of microspore to the pollen grain. Okay, so in this case what you have to choose, both assertion and reason are true, and in reason clear explanation of the outer 3 wall layers is given. So you have to go with both A and R are true and reason is the correct explanation of assertion. Option A will be the right answer. Next question, this you see. The given diagram shows microsporangium of mature anther, that is A, B, C. Okay, look at the labelings properly. Okay, look at the labelings properly. First here A, which is pointed over here, and then B, which is pointed over here, and C is over here. See, the outer wall layer will be epidermis, but there is no point at the epidermis. The point is at the next layer, that is endothecium. Endothecium is again single layered. Okay, in few plants it will be alpha cellulosic fibers, but then endothecium is single layered. And next to the endothecium you have 2 to 3 layers of middle layers. 2 to 3 middle layers. Okay, and then innermost layer will be what? Tapetum. Innermost is tapetum. Okay, tapetum is binucleate in condition, binucleate or polyploid, you can say polyploid in condition, which provides nutrition to the sporogenous tissue megaspores. Okay, sorry, microspores. It provides nutrition to the sporogenous tissue where microspores will derive the nutrition from the tapetum and they will mature to what? Pollen grains. Fine, ma'am. So, here if you see, A is endothecium, B will be middle layers and C is tapetum. So, option C will be the right answer. Okay, option C is the right answer. Fine. Next, again assertion reason type of question, ma. Look at here, this is about the pollen grain, exine and intine wall. Pollen grain is encapsulated, the outermost pollen, the outermost layer of the pollen grain is what? The outermost wall layer is exine. Okay, exine is made up of what? Sporopollenin. Okay, exine is made up of sporopollenin. Exine wall layer will have germ pores. This germ pores will not be having the sporopollenin deposition, because from this germ pores pollen tube will be formed when the pollen grain is landing onto the compatible stigma. And innermost layer is what? Intine. Intine is the innermost layer. Okay, and here in pollen grain which is haploid, after one mitosis this will be divided into two cells. Upper one will be vegetative cell and lower is generative cell. Clear, right, ma? So, now here you see exine of the pollen grain is made up of sporopollenin, which is resistant to high temperatures, strong acids, alkaline, as well as the enzymatic degradation. Reason, if you see, sporopollenin is absent in the region of the germ pores. So, here both the statements are correct only, but reason is not the correct explanation of assertion. Okay, reason is not the correct explanation of assertion. In this case, what option you have to choose, beta? Both A and R are true and reason is not the correct explanation of assertion, because in reason nowhere it is explaining about the sporopollenin composition or exine wall. Okay, so these are two different unique statements. So, we have to go with option B. Next question you look into, ma. This is about ovule structure. So, here this one is what? This is the stalk of the ovule, that is funicle. Okay, this is the stalk of the ovule and this is the body of the ovule. The stalk is connected with the body of the ovule by small structure called as what? Hilum. Okay, hilum, and the small pore like structure above here, this pore is what? Micropylar end. The end where the pore is present is micropylar end. Opposite to the micropylar end you have what, ma? Chalacal end. Chalacal end. Fine. And here these are what? Integuments. These layers are what? Integuments. It can be unitegmic, bitegmic or tritegmic. And inside this the cells are filled with what? Nucellus. So, here B pointing is what? Nucellus. Nucellus cells are present. Nucellus cells are present inside the ovule, and here inside that you have what? Embryo sac. Embryo sac. Fine, right, ma? So, look at it carefully. A is what here? Micropylar end, and then B is what? Nucellus cells, micropylar end, and here B is what? Nucellus cells which are present inside the ovule, and then embryo sac. C is what? Embryo sac, which is haploid female gametophyte, and D is what? Chalaza. So, here option D will be the right answer. Okay. Next. Yeah, here you look into statement based question. From the statements given below, choose the option that are true for a typical female gametophyte of flowering plants. So, here we have to go with the statements given below and we have to choose the option that is true regarding to what? Female gametophyte. So female gametophyte is what ma? Embryo sac. Okay, embryo sac is the female gametophyte of angiosperms. Okay, this embryo sac is what condition? 7-celled 8-nucleated condition. Okay, 7-celled 8-nucleated condition where you have 3 antipodal cells at the chelazal end and 3 cells at the micropylar end. 2 are synergids and 1 is the egg apparatus, and at the center you can have the polar nuclei or the central cell. So it is how many celled and how many nucleated condition beta? 7 celled and 8 nucleated condition. So 1 is correct only. It is free nuclear during development. Yes, free nuclear division takes place during the development of embryo sac. How? From megaspore mother cell, which is at the micropylar end. So this megaspore mother cell is diploid only. This diploid megaspore mother cell will undergo meiotic division, forming out what? 4 haploid megaspores. Of this, 3 megaspores which are towards the micropylar end will degenerate, and 1 megaspore which is towards the chelazal end will be functional. This functional megaspore which is towards the chelazal end will undergo 3 sequential mitotic divisions. This will undergo 3 sequential mitotic divisions. Okay, this 3 sequential mitotic divisions, okay, karyokinesis happens but cytokinesis will not happen. Okay, karyokinesis happens but cytokinesis will not happen. Cytokinesis happen after the complete 8 nuclei formation. So here this is free nuclear development only. 2 is also correct. Next, this is situated inside the integument, but it is situated inside the integument but outside the nucellus. No, it is situated inside the integument and inside the nucellus only. So here what are the correct statements with respect to female gametophyte, that is embryo sac ma? 1 and 2. Option C will be the right answer. Next question you look into ma? Arrangement of nuclei in normal dicot embryo sac. What will be the arrangement of nuclei? 3 plus 2 plus 3. Okay, this will be the arrangement, 3 plus 2 plus 3. Option C will be the right answer. Next question, select the correct option regarding the ploidy level of different structures in angiospermic ovule. So before answering this question, once you look into the ovule structure, I will draw it out here only. So once if we have to look into the ovule structure, inverted ovule, most of the angiosperms will have inverted ovule only. So if we have to look into the inverted ovule structure, yeah. So at the center it has what? Nucellus cells. Nucellus cells, one of them at the megaspore mother cell will be undergoing 1 meiotic division, 3 mitotic divisions, forming out what? Haploid embryo sac. This embryo sac will have 3 antipodals, 2 central cells and synergids at the micropylar end and an egg cell over here. Okay. So here you look into the ploidy beta. Funicle ploidy will be diploid only, integuments ploidy will be diploid only, embryo sac ploidy will be haploid because this is formed after the meiosis and mitosis. Micropylar end, chelazal end, but the nucellus cells which are present over here, nucellus cells are diploid. Megaspore mother cell is diploid and megaspores will be haploid. Okay. So this will be the ploidy of all the structures inside the ovule. Hilum is also diploid. Okay. So here if you see, nucellus cells are what? Diploid, ploidy is diploid, and megaspore mother cell ploidy is diploid. Functional megaspore ploidy will be haploid. So here what will be the right answer beta? Option C will be the right answer. Nucellus is diploid, megaspore mother cell diploid and functional megaspore will be haploid. So this is the answer for the ploidy. Fine. Next, look at this question which is again statement based. Which of the following statements regarding the structure of microsporangium are correct? So here the question is about the structure of microsporangium. Microsporangium is generally surrounded by 4 wall layers: epidermis, endothecium, middle layers and tapetum. Correct only, it has how many wall layers beta? 4 wall layers. Outer 3 layers perform the function of protection and dehiscence of the anther. Yes, outer 3 wall layers, what are they? Epidermis, endothecium and middle layers will give the function of protection and they help in the dehiscence. Next, option 3 if you see. Cells of the tapetum undergo meiosis and produce microspore tetrad. No, cells of the tapetum are nutritive in function. They will provide nourishment. They will provide nourishment to the developing microspores inside the sporogenous tissue. Inside the sporogenous tissue. Fine, inside the sporogenous tissue, this haploid microspores will get nourished and they will be developed to the haploid pollen grains. Pollen grains will be formed. Pollen grains. Fine. So, here 3 statement will be wrong. Okay. What will undergo meiosis? Sporogenous tissue or microspore mother cells will undergo meiosis, not tapetal cells. So, here what is the correct statements ma? 1 and 2. So, you have to go with option A, right. Next question. Look at here, assertion reason type of question again. Assertion: the method of development of embryo sac from single functional megaspore is termed as monosporic development. Yes, development of embryo sac from single functional megaspore is what? Monosporic development. And then in monosporic development, that is also called as polygonum type of embryo sac development, usually megaspore which is situated towards the micropylar end remains functional. Wrong. Always do remember beta, megaspore mother cell which is formed, megaspore mother cell which is differentiated from the nucellus, this megaspore mother cell is formed at the chalazal end. This megaspore mother cell is formed at the micropylar end. Micropylar end. And when it undergoes meiosis and forms a linear tetrad of 4 megaspores, 3 megaspores which are present towards the chalazal end, three megaspores which are present, they will degenerate towards the micropylar end, towards the micropylar end. 3 megaspores which are present will be degenerate. One megaspore which is present towards the chalazal end will be functional. Okay. 3 megaspores which are towards the micropylar end will be degenerated. 1 megaspore which is present towards the chalazal end will be functional. So, here if you have to look into both assertion is true, but reason is false, because micropylar end will not be remaining functional. The megaspore which is situated towards the chalazal end will remain functional. Okay. So, here A is true and R is false. Assertion is true and reason will be false. Option C is the right answer. Next question you look into, recognize the figure and find out the correct matching. Correct matching needs to be find out. So, here these are the plants like viola, common pansy, wherein you can observe both the cleistogamous flowers and chasmogamous flowers. Chasmogamous flowers are the opened flowers. Both of them are bisexual only. Bisexual flowers wherein each flower will have male reproductive structure and female reproductive structure. So, here if you see chasmogamous flowers, wherein here both male and female reproductive structure will be present, right. So, here both there is a possibility of both autogamy and geitonogamy, whereas cleistogamous flowers which are over here, cleistogamous flowers which conduct only bud pollination. Bud pollination, only autogamy is possible. That is, the pollen grain of the same flower can fertilize the egg of the same flower, okay, but here the pollen grains of one flower can fertilize the egg of other flower of the same plant or of the same flower of the same plant. So here bud pollination happens, bud pollination. There is no possibility of cross pollination over here, and in cleistogamous flowers only autogamy is possible. Whereas here in chasmogamous flowers both autogamy and geitonogamy are possible. Geitonogamy. Both autogamy and geitonogamy are possible in chasmogamous flowers. So A is chasmogamous flowers and B is what? Cleistogamous flowers, which is option B, right? And next question, look at here. Autogamy can occur in chasmogamous flowers. Yes, autogamy can occur in chasmogamous flowers when both pollen and ovules mature simultaneously. If pollen matures prior to the maturity of ovule, this is not possible. If ovule matures priorly, it is not possible. This phenomena is called as what? Protandry, and this phenomena is called as what? Protogamy. Fine. So both pollen and ovules will mature simultaneously. They will mature simultaneously in chasmogamous flowers, then only autogamy is possible. Look at this question. In angiosperms, normally after fertilization what happens? So this question is from post-fertilization events. Post-fertilization events. Look, the zygote divides earlier than primary endosperm nucleus. No, here primary endosperm nucleus or endosperm development is prior to the embryo development. This is the direct statement from the NCERT. What is that, ma? Endosperm development. Endosperm development is prior to embryo development. Direct NCERT line. You can underline in your NCERT also. So here if you see, the primary endosperm nucleus divides earlier than the zygote. Option B goes right. Both zygote and endosperm, they will not happen simultaneously, but then seed and fruit formation will take place simultaneously. Okay, that is the second statement after this in your NCERT. Both the zygote and primary endosperm nucleus undergo resting period. No. So what is the right answer over here? Option B will be the right answer. The primary endosperm nucleus divides earlier than the zygote. Okay. And next question. Yeah. Geitonogamy. Geitonogamy involves what? Geitonogamy involves fertilization of flower by pollen from one flower by pollen from another flower of the same plant. Yes. Fertilization of flower by pollen from another flower of the same plant. This is geitonogamy, but let us look at the other statements as well. Fertilization of flower by pollen from the same flower, this is autogamy. This is autogamy. And look at here, fertilization of flower of another plant in the same population. No, fertilization of flower by pollen from a flower with another plant belonging to the distant population. This will be xenogamy. Fine. As the question is with respect to geitonogamy, option A goes correct here. Next question. Yeah, diagram based question again. Recognize the figure and find out the correct matching. Correct matching need to be found out. So this is when male gametes are entering into the embryo sac. Of course, A is what, Nana? This will be central cell or polar nucleus. Central cell or polar nuclei. Central cell or polar nuclei. And B is what here? B is egg cell. B is egg cell. Fine. And C, B will be the egg cell, and C is what? These are the synergids. Synergids. Fine. D is what over here? Filiform apparatus which will aid or help in the entry of pollen tube into the embryo sac. So, D is what? Filiform apparatus. Filiform apparatus. Fine. And E here is what? Male gametes. Male gametes. Fine. And F is what? Nucleus, vegetative nucleus. This male gametes, E is male gametes, that is from generative cell, and F will be what? Vegetative cell. This will be vegetative cell. And here it is, male gametes are produced from what? Generative cell. Look at here carefully. So, A is what? Central cell, B will be egg nucleus, C is synergids, D will be filiform apparatus, E male gametes, F will be vegetative nucleus. So, here B is the right answer. Clear, right? Any doubt anywhere, beta? Next. Now, look at this question, again a diagram based question from monocot seed. Look at here properly. In monocot seed, we do not have strong cotyledons, okay, but then we have a papery cotyledon. That cotyledon will derive the nutrients from the endosperm, be it starchy endosperm or proteinaceous endosperm. Nutrients will be derived and the nutrients will be given to the embryo sac or embryonal axis. The nutrients will be given to the embryonal axis, where at the tip of the embryonal axis coleoptile is present, at the base what? Coleorhiza is present. So, here this is what? Papery cotyledon or scutellum, okay, scutellum or papery cotyledon, and this will be what, Nana? Embryonal axis. At the tip of embryonal axis plumule is present. Covering plumule you have a papery sheath or a protective sheath above the plumule called as coleoptile, and a protective sheet covering the radicle, this is coleorhiza. Coleorhiza. Fine. A is what? Scutellum, B will be coleoptile, C is coleorhiza. Option B is the right answer. Next question, again assertion reason type of question based on endospermic seeds and non-endospermic seeds. In assertion it is clear that X-albuminous seeds means non-endospermic seeds. Non-endospermic seeds or X-albuminous seeds, one and the same. They do not possess any residual endosperm as it is completely consumed during embryo development. Yes, it is completely consumed during embryo development. In reason, if you see, wheat, castor, pea, groundnut are all X-albuminous seeds. Wrong. Amongst these, only pea and groundnut are what? X-albuminous seeds. Castor, which is the only dicotyledonous seeds, it has endosperm. From that endosperm only we will be extracting castor oil, and this castor seed diagram is also given in your chapter, in your NCERT. So, both wheat and castor, these are albuminous seeds, or you can also call it as what? Endospermic seeds. Endospermic seeds. Fine. So, here what is true, ma? What is the right answer? Assertion is true and reason is false. Assertion is true and reason is false. We have to go for option C. Okay. Next question. So, this is the last question of today's session. Look into that carefully, ma. Assertion. In Coccus nucifera, coconut water represents cellular endosperm, surrounding the white kernel represents free nuclear endosperm. Wrong. Okay. If you see Coccus nucifera, coconut water will represent free nuclear endosperm, because here this is the result of only karyokinesis, cytokinesis will not happen. So, coconut water is an example for what? Free nuclear endosperm. Free nuclear endosperm. Fine. And kernel, that is a white layer above the coconut water, this represents what? Cellular endosperm. Okay, this represents cellular endosperm. Fine. And then in reason, primary endosperm nucleus undergoes number of free nuclear divisions, all of which are subsequently followed by wall formation. Wrong. Wall formation will happen only in the cellular endosperm, that is in the kernel, not in the free nuclear endosperm. So here what will be the right answer beta? Assertion and reason both are false. Both assertion and reason will be false. Okay. So with this we have completed the practice of questionnaire from sexual reproduction of flowering plants in gist. Okay. And in our coming sessions we are going to start the chapters, the most important and demanded chapters, those are genetics, right. So in our next session we are going to exercise the NEET previous year questions from principles of inheritance and variation. So don't miss that session at all. Okay. So that's all for today's session beta. Thank you. Yes, open inter also can write a NEET exam. Huh? There is no problem at all. You can also attempt the NEET exam. Any other doubts though, you can drop your messages in chat box. Okay.